Hope you're having a good new year. About a weekend now. We're doing well. I wanted to do a quick update on Elizabeth. So let's see. So on Friday we took Elizabeth to Spokane to see her neurosurgeon, and we were kind of afraid it was going to be a wasted trip. It's 2 hours away, and so we went because she'd been acting really fussy. And in October, when we had her at the neurosurgeon, she'd been acting the same way. And lo and behold, when he checked her shunt, the setting was off, and which kind of changes the rate of flow. I don't know, some of you that read this blog have kids with hydrocephalus, so you totally know what I'm talking about. I suppose that some people might have no idea what I'm talking about. So really quick, Elizabeth was born with hydrocephalus, and what that means is that when she was developing, there's supposed to be, there's these ventricles within the brain, and the cerebral spinal fluid normally is supposed to be flowing through these ventricles. Now, Elizabeth, when she was developing, there's blockage between the third and the fourth ventricle. So when her body was producing this fluid, this cerebral spinal fluid, there was nowhere for it to flow. It couldn't go through because of this blockage. So what happened in her case was that the fluid just built up in her head, and got bigger and bigger, ended up kind of smushing her brain, and that's why we are where we are now. So the solution was, right when she was born, or the next morning, they did surgery and they placed a shunt. Now the shunt is her lifeline. It's what keeps her alive every day. Because she doesn't have the capability to keep this fluid circulating on its own, the shunt is just kind of a piece of hardware. It rests on top of the skull, but they've drilled a hole, so then the catheter part goes down inside the ventricle of her brain. It takes that fluid and it drains it. It has a tube that goes down through her neck, down into her abdomen area. So it drains that fluid for her, since she can't do it on her own. Otherwise, the pressure would build up. So the deal is that there's settings. Now we can't. It's under her skin. So the way they change the setting is with a magnet. They hold this thing above her head, and it can read what setting her shunt is at, and they can change how fast it flows, slow or faster, and they can make it just right for her. And they turn it with this magnet on the outside. So that's why we have to keep Elizabeth away from magnets. Well, in October, when we found out the setting was off, we're like, oh, that's why she's been so crabby. She's probably having headaches because it wasn't flowing fast enough. Therefore, there's more pressure in her head. And we assumed at that point that the way it got changed, setting, is because Elizabeth pounds her head a lot, very hard. And so we are assuming that's how, like somehow she knocked the shunt enough to bump that setting out of place. So all I noticed just since about New Year's that she's been acting really, really cranky again and crabby. And so we called the neurosurgeon's office last week and explained it to them. And we knew it was a long drive to go just to hold this thing up to her head when they might say it's perfect, but we thought it was worth a shot. And we got there, and once again, sure enough, they looked and the setting was off. So Elizabeth is a turkey. We call her turkey. She's silly. It's because she's knocking it out of place with all this head banging. So they reset it, and then of course she's happy because I'm sure she's got headaches when it's off. I'm assuming. It's hard having a child that can't tell you how they feel, but I would assume with all the whining and crying, it probably means headaches. So they reset it, and now our job is to try to keep her from banging it so hard that it messes it up. But they said also, if this continues on, because you can't mess with that all the time. I mean, you can change it, but Elizabeth can't be unsetting it all the time with her head banging. That's dangerous for her. So if this does continue, then we might need to consider putting in a shunt that has like a fixed flow rate that doesn't change with a magnet, that has one rate that it stays at, and then Elizabeth, even with her head banging, wouldn't be messing with it. And hopefully we don't have to do that because it's a really big surgery. It's a brain surgery. What can you do? So we'll just wait and see. We'll just wait and see if she can keep it in place. Unless she starts acting really bad again and we decide to go back to Spokane, we're going to go back in March and see how it's looking. So that's the update with Elizabeth. We were, I'm sad that it was bumped out of place, but I was really glad to find out that there was a reason for her being so crabby, because usually Elizabeth's a pretty happy little girl. Anyways, other than that, thanks to those of you that have voted for Lorelei. We are really, really hoping to win the 20 by 24 inch print of her picture. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you can look at yesterday's post. I have the perfect place to hang it. You might remember we got some new furniture in November, and this really awesome new blue chair that reminds me like of something from Mad Men. If you watch that show, we love that show. But I can't recommend it because it's a little bit, some parts are scandalous. I love it, but I won't recommend it because of the scandalous parts. Anyways, I think it would look amazing above that chair. And I also think now I have my mind so set on it that even if we don't win, I'm going to have to buy one. I don't want to buy one. So please help out and take the minute or less to click over to Facebook, please, and like Charlene Hardy Photography first, because if you don't do that, then the vote doesn't count. And then click on Lorelei's picture and like it as well. And if we can pull ahead, we have till Friday, then Donald can get that print. And I'd be very, very happy and grateful. Anyways, have a great week, and we'll chat later. Bye.